episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Pearl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. I hope everybody enjoyed their long 3-day holiday weekend, Labor Day weekend. Thank a union. That's all I got to say about that. Thank a union. You enjoyed your time off. Thank somebody that is willing to organize and fight for worker rights. They just don't take any old thing that's coming their way. They band together and say, we're going to do a thing and you will protect us. I love it. So thank a union for your 3-day weekend. But you know, after Labor Day, it's the most wonderful time of the year. I'm just saying, we are in the home stretch for the general election. This is when we have the opportunity to make real change in everything that we do in every aspect of our world by electing the right people. I know y'all like, nah, Black, nah, you bugging, girl. No, I'm telling you, you can make it happen. But you got to make sure who you're voting for. Did you all see the Anti-Defamation League's report that came out about the Oath Keepers? Unfortunately, they weren't bright enough to have good data security. And all of the list of people who were involved with this organization was leaked, and it was published in this report. Now, for the most part, you know, a lot of people were like, well, Dana, you know, everybody's allowed to believe what they want to believe. They can hang out and do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? But this is a hate group. Everybody knows this is a hate group. This is a group that wants to keep America white, which it was never white to begin with. So how are you trying to keep it something it never was? But you know what? That's what happens when you defund public education. People ain't that smart when they, you know, they don't take advantage of. I'm just saying. So you have a whole bunch of people, you know, because what happens is, right, y'all thought y'all were targeting Black and brown people to, you know, defund their public education and privatize that. But what happened was, you know, urban areas, we have choices, but in rural areas, they don't have choices. So all the money goes in one pot. And all the, you know, once you start siphoning it out, the rural people don't have nowhere else to go. And so all these people grow up and they become Boogaloo boys, Proud Boys, which I'm a little offended that they call themselves Proud Boys, because I'm like, they ought to go ahead on, get on the float, throw on some rainbows and quit tripping. But no, they don't want to do that. They the Proud Boys, Boogaloo Boys, and of course, the Oath Keepers. They are all these right-wing, ultra conspiracy laden, don't understand common sense type people who, again, target folks who are not like them. For example, they showed up in South Bend to protest drag queen reading hour. Well, first of all, in a public library, they went into the public library to say what people couldn't do in the public library. Obviously, they didn't understand what the word public meant. Doesn't mean you have to go. If you don't like it, don't go. But how dare you tell somebody else they can't bring their kid? I'm just saying. I talked to my sister earlier today, so she kind of got me a little hyped up. I'm gonna calm down in just a minute. But anyway, why am I talking about the Oath Keepers? Dana, you never really talk about these people. Well, I'm talking about them today because in the report, we found out that there are a lot of people in Indiana who are subscribed to this list. And what's disturbing about it is we have law enforcement that are subscribing to this list or following this thing. We have military personnel. That one should shock you because the military has always been apolitical as much as they possibly can. In fact, the military has been probably the most progressive places when it comes to diversity. They were some of the first places to be like, you know what? Maybe it's not a good idea to segregate Black people and white people. We ought to put them in the same trench. I'm just saying, right? I mean, I know the women in combat thing was a struggle, but I'm not really there. They didn't have no problem with trans people in the military. It was the Orange Menace. So the fact that we have Proud Boys in the military is a little frightening. Now, I'm not surprised about the law enforcement officers. You remember when y'all said y'all were like insurrection, like, well, it can't be that bad. The police officers let them in. And a buddy of mine was like, that's like asking Batman to arrest Bruce Wayne. Jada B know who she is. I stole that quote from her. I did. So we already knew, and those of us who walk around in heavily melanated skin, we already knew there was some isn't it in the game anyway. We live it. We walk it every day. Now, I'm not gonna tell you everybody knows it's not everybody, because I know some good people on IMPD. But what I am saying is that there is dangerous elements within our law enforcement agency. We all need to be aware. Now, law enforcement, military, first responders, y'all. First responders. So I show up at your house, I don't even like you. Am I gonna save your life? I'm just saying these are things that we have to think about now that we know that these folks are in this organization. But what scares me the most are how many elected officials are a part of this organization. See, you may have 1 or 2 interactions with law enforcement agencies. You may have 1 or 2 interactions with first responders. You may not ever come in contact with the military because only 1% in the, enrollment's down. As Jim Banks, he's trying to, he doesn't want us to get our $10,000 student loan forgiveness because it's a good carrot to get people to sign up to go in the military. I don't know what exploitation sounds like other than, oh, there's poor people, let's go get them to die for us. I'm just saying, if you want to go fight in the military, do that, but to exploit poor people? Anyway, I'm on a rant for real. The elected officials are people who are writing policies that impact everybody in that community. So if you're writing policies at the statehouse, it's going to affect 6 million people. If you're writing policies, I don't know, like Bradley Rogers, who currently serves as county commissioner in Elkhart County, if he's writing policies for that county and he's a member of the Oath Keepers, is he really looking out for every person in that community? Or is he going to draft legislation or policies or ordinances or do things that are counterproductive to certain members of that community? I don't know. But if you sign up for a group called the Oath Keepers, you definitely don't have my best interest in mind. You guys got to go read that report. And I know that was kind of a long rant, but I need y'all to understand that it is no longer just like, people on the fringes. It's not that anymore. It's not that. They're in every element of our society, and they're growing like cancer, and they're going to assume metastasize into something so awful that we will not be able to bring ourselves back. I need y'all to understand that. They're everywhere. And for some reason, they mad that they feel like somebody's taking something away from them. Ain't nobody taking nothing away from you, except for them tax cuts that your boys gave the super wealthy people. So they don't actually contribute to the society as a whole. It comes out your pocket, in my pocket. So if you're gonna be mad at somebody, be mad at the people who are not supplying the needs that the government is supposed to supply. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm actually a little worried, but they never show up wherever I am. So I've never met a Boogaloo boy before. I met a lot of Proud Boys. I usually see them in June, but I don't think they're part of this organization. All right, that's my rant on that. But I want to give y'all some news real quick. Remember how President Biden was giving people $10,000 and $20,000 if you got Pell Grants, student loan forgiveness? Well, in Indiana, they're going to tax you. They decided the Fed agencies, they're not going to tax you. They're not taxing you as income, but in Indiana, because this is the state that works, so hard to keep your behind broke. The state that works is going to, that forgiveness, they're going to go ahead and tax it. So look for it. But I got to tell you, my guy, my House rep, my state representative, Representative Greg Porter is introducing legislation to alleviate that tax burden. Now, we know what that supermajority looks like. And if a Democrat says the sky is blue, I promise you, they will tell you it's green. They will. They will not agree with you in that supermajority. They don't have to. So let's hope that his bill gets called into committee. And what he says is, because taxing student debt relief when we have a $6.1 billion and growing surplus is unfair and needlessly counterproductive. I am drafting a bill to retroactively eliminate and nullify any state individual income tax being imposed on Hoosiers who are finally in a position to receive vital student debt relief. That way, impacted individuals can avoid up to $600 in tax liability that would result from this policy choice. Look, I'm just saying, vote D. I mean, how much more do we have to show you what we trying to do out here? We out here trying to help you. You know what I'm saying? We never gonna be able to fix everything. And no, we don't always get everything right. But at least we thinking about you. What was the first thing they did when they had all three branches? What did they do? They produced tax cuts for the wealthy that you did not actually get to see. So I was gonna talk about Ty Rakita, but I got on a rant about the Boogaloo Boys and the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and all them punk boys. I'll talk about Ty later because there's always a reason to talk about Ty. Because he's not. Why is he our Attorney General? Why can't he just go away? You know what I'm saying? Why does he have to keep on embarrassing us? Him, Jim Banks, he another one. Little Jimmy. All right, y'all, that's my rant. Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Turn Left. I'm so excited. I have some great guests tonight. And remember, as you're listening to our guests, we're getting down to the countdown. I need you all, if you are liking what they talk about, you believe in what they believe, and you stand by them and you want to support them, which you should, then please click on that link, that they're at blue links that you find down in there, and support these candidates. $5, $10 go a long way. But first up, I have a returning guest. Let me tell you something. And I know she's probably tired of me saying it, but y'all don't understand. Generosity is an amazing thing. And after I had my guest on last year, we were in the studio, we were in person, and we were talking about all the things that I wanted to do and how I wanted to make, Black Pearl Studios a place for Democrats to come and talk. She gave me a donation that was significant enough that I was able to put some carpet down in the studio. And if you guys have ever been in the studio, you gotta muffle that, right? Because I had laminate floors down. But this is one of the sweetest ladies. And I even love her whole crew. Like, whenever I see her, I kick it with her and her crew. Welcome back to the show, the history maker, the Fishers, first Democrat in Fishers to be elected to the Fisher City Council, but now is running for State Senate District 31, Jocelyn Vare. Jocelyn, welcome back to the show.
I am so glad to be here. The last time I was on your show, it was 4 years ago. So I've been on a journey with you, Dana. So thank you.
Well, we have definitely been on this journey together. I'm loving it. Yeah. And you know what? One of the coolest cats on the ballot. I'm just going to throw it. I feel like I wish I could scat. I feel like I could, if I was like a super hip, rappy person. See, I even said it wrong. If I could rap, I would rap to my man, because this is one of the coolest fellas I've had a chance to meet during this campaign cycle. He's from up north by South Bend in St. Joe County. He has his work cut out for him, but he is running in essentially an open seat. I need y'all to hear that. Running for Congress in District 2, my man, Paul Steury. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Dana. I'm so honored and humbled to be part of this show, because you're Indiana's own.
Man, I'm just a chick with a big mouth. That's it. Thank you guys for taking time out of your busy campaign schedules. I know this is the crunch time, so I thank you. So let's dive on in. Paul, people know who Jocelyn is. Please tell the people who you are and where you come from.
Well, I'm up in Goshen, Indiana, and I'm going after District 2, which is 11 counties. So it goes from LaPorte all the way over to Middlebury, down to Wabash, and over then to Peru and Logansport. And so I'm supposed to be the representative for 700,000 plus citizens. And my slogan is Paul for all.
Oh, we got it up there, bro. We got your logo up.
I truly want to be that representative for everyone. So I'm going out talking to everybody and anybody. And yesterday I was in Rochester at a Kiwanis club and met the first person I met was actually a Trump red hat person. And
Orange Menace.
First thing he asked me was, what do you think about Roe? And I said, well, I believe in privacy rights. And I believe in women being respected at the same level as men. And actually the night before, I was at a women's gathering in Peru, Indiana. And I actually said, maybe we should actually even respect women a little bit more because they're the creators. They're the ones that give birth to all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was raised on an 80-acre pig farm south of Decatur, Indiana. And my job there was to play in the ditch all the time, but also take care of the cats and the chickens and the dog, my favorite dog, Tip. And I was there from age 0 to 6. And I was raised in a Church of the Brethren church. And so mom and dad taught me that the two most important things in life are the golden rule, do unto others you want them to do unto you, and Jesus' first commandment, which is love your neighbor as yourself. And so going back to this red hat person that I was talking to, I just constantly came back to saying, well, I'm here to respect. I'm here to listen, and I'm here to listen to what you have to say, but I have to respect every single person in my district, not just some. And you can't put them down because my job is to help make sure that respect is to everyone. And so I'm actually I'm an environmental educator.
Wow.
And actually here's my stump speech. I'm an educator for educators. And I've been in education for 30 years. And because of that, NEA has endorsed me, the National Education Association, as well as the Indiana State Teachers Association, ISTA. I'm a worker for workers, and I've actually worked in industry. I was a purchaser for the aluminum trailer company for a couple of years because I wanted to learn the language of the working class. But I've also been a construction worker, a roofer, a landscaper, a social servant. I've been a little bit of everything. And that's why the AFL-CIO has actually endorsed me, because they believe in me. And I believe in making sure that laborers and all workers in District 2 are respected.
I love that.
And then I'm also, and then also Operators Union Local 150. They're one of the ones that helped push me into running, which I'm so thankful. Thankful for Jimmy Gard. And then I'm also an environmental educator for the environment. And so I've actually, I have my master's in outdoor resources management with an emphasis in environmental education from IU Bloomington. And because of that, I want to raise up the environment, because I tell students, I tell teachers and parents and everybody that my job as this District 2 representative is to make sure the future is lifted up, because we got to make sure teachers are lifted up because they help kids that determine our future. Got to make sure the workers are there because they're determining our future with good roads and good buildings and good hospitals and et cetera, et cetera. And then we got to make sure the environment is good, because for a selfish reason, I have a 16-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I want to make sure that they have a beautiful life ahead of them. And how do we do that? Actually, I want to address climate change and become a very climate active person, which I already am, because I'm actually the head person for Goshen's Citizens Climate Lobby, as well as Goshen's Green Drinks. And I'm also part of the Environmental Education Association of Indiana. And I'm also part of the North American Association of Environmental Education.
You know, I'm gonna jump in real quick, because you know what, you're really refreshing, because you actually sound like you know stuff.
I'm trying my darndest.
Because I'm listening to all of the different experiences that you have had in just your existence, and how different and refreshing that is versus listening to a bunch of punk people who are legacy kids who never had to work for nothing, and now I'm in charge, but oh my God, I'm scared to death. I can't stand up to a 70-something-year-old orange menace. I'm feeling this. Like,
well, thank you, Dana. Appreciate that greatly. And actually, a couple more stories I could tell, but not today. I sailed through the South Pacific for a year, and I was also a gardener at a castle in Ireland for a year. But that's another story.
I'm gonna ask that one when I come up there and see you. I'm gonna ask about that one. That sounds like that need to be off air and just between me and you.
But
Well,
then also I
let me bring in
really
I'm sorry.
really want, I really want to make sure that we have health care for everybody. And that's one of my top pushes. And primarily one specific arena is mental health care. And when the reason why I'm talking about this is because I worked the past 2 years at Elkhart Academy. It's an at-risk youth high school, and I was their science teacher. My job was to edutain and to try to get these kids to love science. And because these kids at this at-risk youth high school, they were either kicked out of school for carrying guns or for fights or being stoned or truancy. And they loved me. And actually, the main thing that they're looking for is respect and love. And so they would come
And
to
then
class
that's what
just
everybody
to go to
wants.
class. Amen. And that's what they need to be better citizens. And so, an FYI, in the past 2 years, I had 3 students overdose on fentanyl. 2 of them had babies. 2 of them were shot. 5 are incarcerated. And so my job is, and actually all of my students had PTSD due to their home lives. That's horrible. And so what can I do? And actually, this is what I told my students my last day of school. I said, hey, the reason why I'm leaving school is not because I don't like you. I love you guys. And I told them that a lot. And actually, another quick story is one of my favorite students she was a heavy hitter. She got into fights all the time. She set her mind, and she had a 2-year-old baby, and boy, oh boy. But every day she'd lean in my classroom and say, hey, Mr. Steury, I love you because you respect me.
That's it. And you know what? It goes a long way. But let me bring in my second guest, because I want to make sure that I bring this queen on in. Since, we lost one queen, but we still got a whole bunch of other queens. Well, we didn't lose a queen. They lost a queen. People on the other side of the pond, they lost a queen. I still got my queen. Anyway, y'all, Jocelyn, what's going on? What's been up with you?
I'm good. It is so good to be here. So the last time I was on your show, I was campaigning for Fishers City Council, an at-large seat. And you guys, at that time, this was 2019, I was told by everyone, there has never been a Democrat elected in the city of Fishers. Fishers is in Hamilton County, northeast suburb of Indianapolis. I was told no Democrat has ever won here in Hamilton County and Fishers specifically, and it's not going to happen now. You have no chance. And here I am now after being elected. I started serving on the Fishers City Council in 2020. And actually there were 2 Democrats elected. And here I am now running for Indiana State Senate to represent Fishers. It's District 31. When I was told 4 years ago, a Democrat will never get elected, now today I hear, you're a Democrat, you must get elected.
That's it.
You must get elected to the state house. And that is an example. I'm certain that is not unique to Fishers nor to Hamilton County. This is how important this upcoming election is and how everyone is looking to Democrats to lead and turn this supermajority around so that they start listening to Hoosiers and serving the people that they have been set an oath to serve. I'm here to tell you, our supermajority, who has been in power in the state house for 10 years, they are making Hoosiers' lives worse.
Yeah.
So it is up to Democrats like us to fight and get elected to help moderate the supermajority. And that's what I do on the city council too. So I've been well prepared for this moment.
And that's interesting that you say that, because, it's going to take a lot of, it's going to take some big ovaries to deal with the madness that's in that state house. Because I watched the the special session, and our elected officials in our Democratic elected officials in that state house got literally verbally abused. And I it was so horrible. I wanted to throw stuff at my TV screens, but I'm like, I paid for that. So I didn't. What is it like? I mean, the Fishers community, Hamilton County, is unique in that they are the 1% of the state. It has a unique economic situation. Income per capita is unique. Talk about how you've been able to, and the things that talk about the things you've been able to accomplish in Fishers, and how you were able to work across the line to do that.
Well, first of all, I have to say, getting elected and serving my community has been the biggest privilege of my life. Okay, I do have 2 kids, so maybe it's my second biggest privilege.
Depending on the week.
Right, but it's amazing. But they're out of the house, right? They're grown up and gone. It is amazing to serve my neighbors and to share with them how their local government serves them and how they can get involved. So one of the responsibilities that I took on happily was to crack open the doors of local government and show it to the citizens and show them their on-ramp so that they can get involved in the way that they want to. Not every citizen cares about every little thing that's happening at City Hall, but I felt like our community, there was not an openness to citizen participation. So what happens when citizens can't participate, or it's complicated or inconvenient to participate? They shut down, right? You don't participate in something where you don't feel welcome.
Yeah.
So my job from day one was to make citizens feel welcome, all of them, Democrats, Republicans, independents, everybody, to make them feel welcome to local government. For me, what that meant in our local government supermajority thing that we have going on, a supermajority, I think by nature, doesn't enjoy transparency.
Right.
They avoid it. They work behind closed
Right.
doors. We saw that during the special session.
Right.
So my job was to open the door and shine a spotlight on things so that citizens knew what was happening. And most importantly, and this is how I'll serve on the state Senate as well, is if the supermajority is making decisions behind closed doors, it's up to someone like me to hold them accountable to that. And that means we can't make it easy for them. And we do exactly what our amazing leaders, our Democratic leaders in both the state House and Senate did for Hoosiers. And that is standing up and fighting and holding the supermajority accountable. You're right, Dana, it was hard to watch, but I was also so uplifted by our House representatives and our state senators. They represented Hoosiers, and that was noticed, that was seen, and that has been motivating, I think, for men and women in Indiana.
Yeah, I was really proud of our Democrats. I mean, you could tell that they, who, I loved them all. I'm not gonna lie, like J.D. Ford and Senator Yoder and Gene Breaux and Senator Taylor. Like, I love them all. But I tell you, when you listen to Fatty Cadora talk, and you listen to the way he explains it, I don't know. I felt like I was he is an educator, but he just has a unique way of explaining it. And his name is Fatty Cadora, and he was in there fighting. And I was like, and Jocelyn, also, you would be only the 3rd woman in our Senate.
Right. That's
a Democrat.
We only have, so the Senate is a body of 50 members. There are only 11 Democratic members, and of them only 2 are Democratic women. So I intend to be the 3rd Democratic woman.
And you know what, Paul, I don't even mind that, you would be replacing a woman. Now, look, I'm not going to speak ill of the dead, but I will tell the truth. The person that occupied that seat was a sympathizer to overthrowing the government. They were comfortable with looking away at all of the ill behavior by their commander in chief because he wasn't mine. He was just a dude that occupied the White House. I don't mind that you taking over the spot because I believe that, you know, you will definitely be better. But what does it mean for you? Because I know people, I mean, I know they talking like it was a woman there. This is the year of the woman. How are you having that conversation? Like, I get that, but
Well, I have to admit, on August 3rd, I was shocked and saddened when it happened. But I was also flabbergasted. It was just kind of, oh my word, what is happening?
uh-oh. Did I lose you?
Uh,
Okay. I, I'll be glad when some of
One
that
thing that they
infrastructure
had
money comes for some high-speed internet all over Indiana. Did I lose you, Paul? Did I lose you?
I don't think so.
Okay, there we go. So you on the
Okay.
29th, you were shocked.
On August 3rd, I was
August 3rd.
shocked when she passed away. And I am so honored because I actually got to know her, and I used to lobby her for climate reasons.
He was a lobbyist too?
Yeah. And actually she was very, very polite. And that's one thing I really want to stress is I'm going to be as polite as possible to all my constituents, but I really want to listen to them, because one thing I've been hearing from a lot of her citizens from District 2 is the biggest complaint was she wouldn't come down and listen to them. She would come down and talk, and then she'd have to leave immediately because she had things to do, people to see, but people want to be listened to, and including that Vietnam veteran in Peru that I met that talked to me about Agent Orange and how the Veteran Affairs Office there closed. And so he had now to go to Fort Wayne, which was a 2-hour drive. And I'm going to fight for everybody and anybody in my district. And I'm going to respect them too. And one thing I really want to promote is that one of my favorite politicians of all time was actually Senator Richard Lugar, conservative Republican. And I didn't agree with a lot of his policies, but one thing he did was actually he listened, and he reached across the aisle, and he compromised, and he was considered bipartisan.
Well, okay, see, I gotta stop you. I mean, I get that, and that all those flowers. I mean, get it, yay. But do you realize Indianapolis is the only city in the entire country that has UniGov? You realize that? Because it was such a bad idea. It's such a bad idea. It's the only city in the entire country that has it, and they didn't really do it all the way. Okay, but I'm gonna leave that alone. There's a PBS special.
Well, people say, how are you going to be able to do anything in Congress, Paul? And I said, relationships are the most important thing that you can do to help change people. And what I see right now is a land of divisiveness. And as a country, we're supposed to be the United States of America. And right now we need to stop lobbing bombs at each other. And I understand us being angry because of stupid things like SB1 and stupid things like Supreme Court, period. But we have to work together.
I agree. I
and
agree.
It's aggravating. And actually what's great is I'm having Republicans get so excited that they are actually having house parties for me so I can go in and meet them.
That's dope.
Fundraise. I know, man. It's because I talk about local economy, local greatness, local enterprise, and make sure to lift up people, because people are ready for hope. They're tired of fear.
Yeah, well, yeah, and see, Justin, I feel what he's talking about. I mean, first of all, I'm the biggest proponent of the C word, compromise, because I recognize that we all have different needs, different wants, and when you're in a land of 365 million, you're never going to be in lockstep, right? But you unfortunately have been in a super minority, and you see when you try to listen, do they listen back?
It has been a challenge, and again, since I was the first Democrat elected, this was all new to them, a whole new, from
Wait.
going from a majority for forever. So I know I started from day one just going, hey, this is going to be rough for everybody. And it is, and it still has been. However, there is always compromise. Paul, you are totally right. There's always common ground. There are always things that we can agree upon. And even if it's just the basics of, we want to keep Hoosiers healthy. We want to keep Hoosiers safe. We want to keep all Hoosiers with the openness to be in the best success that they possibly can be. Certainly we can all agree upon that. So we have to start there. However, I will add, you must, when things are going sideways, when a supermajority is spinning out of control, when there's no connection between a supermajority's action and the people that they're supposed to serve, the citizens that they're supposed to serve, then that's sideways, and you have to fight to bring it back together. You have to work, and that takes boldness, that takes vulnerability, that takes probably some hard knocks. I know I withstand them, but every knock I take, I get stronger. And every time a supermajority, for me, my experience, has felt threatened or uncomfortable, I know I'm doing the right thing, right? Because it's not supposed to be easy. This is not supposed to be easy, but we all know, and we especially know as Democrats, the more voices we have, the better solutions we're gonna have as our outcome. So never have I seen a room full of yes men or a supermajority behind closed doors make good decisions for all. It's impossible.
And
we have to call that out.
You said the magic word just now, solutions.
Yeah.
People often, and I'm notorious, I allow candidates to share what they want, because again, I want people to endorse you, help you, donate to you. But you know, when you win this election, you will have November, you'll either have to sign on to or start submitting your legislation. Jocelyn, talk about some of the pieces of legislation you want to work on, and maybe talk about some solutions that you see that maybe they haven't seen before, or whatever you got going.
Yeah, thank you for that opportunity. So number one, if I am elected, when I'm elected, I will work to repeal Indiana's extreme abortion ban. We will repeal it. We will pull it back and go back to where it was before and reset it. We will repeal Indiana's abortion ban. And that's what Hoosiers want. So that is my number one priority. Other priorities for me very quickly is I will fight for sensible gun legislation. And we're going to we have to repeal some bad stuff that happened. We're going to repeal permitless carry. That has been a detriment to our, not only law enforcement, but our citizens and keeping them safe. And then I'll add to that, strengthening Indiana's public schools. I am a daughter of an English teacher. I am a daughter of a public school superintendent. I am a mom of an Indianapolis public school English teacher. Teaching educators are in my blood. Probably explains why I'm a small business owner, right? Because I know how hard it is to be an educator, and they're marvelous. So we're going to lift up educators. We're going to encourage more students to get into the teaching profession and become educators, and our students are going to be better and our communities are going to be better. Well,
also a part of, I assume that making public schools better means you're actually going to work to pay the teachers?
Yes. Now, there's no doubt we're making headway there. But certainly the biggest culprit is how funds are being siphoned away from our public schools and given to charter schools or private schools that simply do not have the same accountability and follow the same rules as public schools. So that needs to be moderated again. And public schools is the centerpiece, strength of our communities. So that has to be the priority. Quickly, public schools in our Indiana Constitution are required to accept every student. That's why they're called public schools, right? So that is what we need to do, serve every student.
Absolutely. And I agree with that. And jump in here, Paul. You know, I find it interesting, and maybe I'm the only one that doesn't understand why they don't get it, or maybe they do get it and they just don't care. And so let's have a free-flowing conversation right now about education. Paul, you're an educator. Jocelyn, you love education. When we see businesses that are saying, look, Indiana, you don't actually have the educated workforce for us to move our business here, or, you know, when Eli Lilly says, I'm going to change the work that you guys do in Indiana because we don't have the educated workforce. What are y'all seeing? Paul, start with you. What are y'all seeing from them, a way to work with them to fix this problem? And why don't they understand that if you don't properly educate our kids, then economically Indianapolis could be like Jackson, Mississippi with no good water, right?
Mhm.
So how do we convey to the voters and who are voting for these folks, and to the people in office, that if you do not take care of the basic thing, and that's educating your society, we're never going to get anywhere? Paul, jump in there, man.
Well, it's just, I, as you said, I was a teacher, and just listening to fellow teachers who are unhappy, and they're looking at jobs in other states just because other states respect teachers more. And what we need to think is that this profession is so important just because it's thinking about the future. And so, yes, people applaud that we actually now have a bill or a law that says the minimum is $40,000. But you know what? The job, I'd say teaching is probably one of the hardest jobs there is, because not only are you having to think up new curriculum ideas of that edutainment that I was talking about, but also you have to manage. And actually, I'd say classroom is 85% management, because you have to think about how to deal with situations and to deal with the politics. Main thing we just need to do is lift up teachers and see if we can pass some bills that will not put a cap on salaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now a cap on a lot of them who started at a certain time is $54,000. There are teachers that have grandfathered in because they had this initial contract that they can receive higher amounts, but it's all these new teachers, and people see that doesn't, dollars equals respect in most people's eyes. And I have a friend who taught in Chicago for 30 years, and he's making $120,000 a year. And his retirement is $85,000 a year.
What? I mean,
I know.
That's
That's
taking
called
care of,
respect.
but see, that's what I'm talking about, right? You take care of the people who are the mind molders. They're molding minds, right?
Well, and then teachers will want to teach. I mean, if they feel that respect when it comes to many different realms of respect.
Yeah. I mean, and they're Jocelyn, they're running young people who may have a passion for teaching out of the whole industry.
Yeah, I value education. Hoosier businesses value education. Our statehouse supermajority does not seem to value education. And when you don't value education, you don't value educators. And unfortunately, that means you don't value students. And for me, if I become a state senator, I'm going to advocate not only for public education, K-12 public education, but post-secondary education. That is where Indiana is falling short. We are not educating a workforce for tomorrow's jobs, right? But for me, what I see is there are so many obstacles in place And that is exactly what you said, Dana, this, I don't know, devaluing of the teaching profession, putting obstacles in the paths of teachers, and also removing the obstacles in the paths of our households and our neighborhoods. Our students may not be getting a post-secondary education because they didn't graduate from high school.
Right.
And maybe they didn't graduate from high school because instead of, they need to be out in the workforce to support their household. And maybe that household has problems with childcare, right? Like pre-K. And so the whole spectrum has to be evaluated and evaluate and tackle these obstacles that are in place for Hoosiers. And right now, there are so many, and we are seeing it all the way across the spectrum between early childcare, K-12, and post-secondary. We are not fulfilling what Hoosier students need right now.
And you know what? I'm going to transition to another topic because I feel like it's important. But and the reason why is because if we were educating our people better, then maybe we would be ready to deal with the science of climate change. We are witnessing right now some of the most horrendous extreme weather events. People aren't even talking about all the displaced folks in Pakistan who are my dear friend Rima. All I could do was send her a text and say, how's your family doing? You know, because you know people, and it's like nobody's talking about this, that these folks are underwater, or the fact that in southern Indiana we have counties that are in distress, and the extreme heat out in well, hey, you know, the British were dying from the heat because they don't know nothing about heat, right? The whole planet is going through a horrendous metamorphosis when it comes to this climate, but people aren't talking about it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to stop using fossil fuels. When you're elected, what are some of the things that you want to work on when it comes to climate change? I'm going to start with Jocelyn because it's going to be a much more localized attack, and then Paul will hit you on that one because you're going to be at the Fed level. Go ahead, Josh.
Well, I'll be really brief so Paul has plenty of time. Environmental issues are one of the number one things that I hear about from citizens where I live. Again, Senate District 31, and which includes Hamilton County and Marion County. Environmental concerns is number one. And everyone acknowledges that we have wasted time. We're behind it. We have a lot of catching up to do. And if I was elected as a state senator, my top priorities would be clean water and green trees. Very simply, clean water and green trees. And if we had that focus and made that a priority in every single community, Indiana would be a different place. And I just quickly, I sat on city council. We had our budget planning session, one of the many, and I brought up environmental concerns. And when I first started on the city council, environmental concerns were not even discussed. It wasn't invested in the city budget. It wasn't talked about. It wasn't a priority. Now it is. I cannot take credit for that. I want to be clear, but I'm just saying, like, the situation has changed. I think the folks that are climate change deniers clearly have been dismissed, and let's get to work. So clean water, green trees.
Yeah. Go, Paul.
I love what you say about green. Well, the reason why I love you saying about green trees, I'm not sure if you guys know, but I mean, they're the best carbon sequesters possible. And the reason why is because their job as this natural thing, this being, is to suck carbon out of the air. And then what are we doing? We're cutting them down. So as your future congressperson in District 2, I'm hoping to then actually help promote as much tree planting as possible, because we need to think about carbon sequestration. And actually, I do believe in one bill that Senator Braun has brought forth. And what it's all about is actually, yeah, I know, crazy. He started a
a broke clock is right twice. I'm just saying.
Well, he started a Senate climate caucus. And the bill that he is trying to promote is actually paying farmers and foresters or owners of forests for the amount of trees or what they plant in the ground they get paid for the amount of carbon sequestration that happens. And I think that's wonderful. I think that's fantastic. We need to get paid for doing that. And that might limit and that might stop people from cutting down trees just because they want to have more farmland.
Right. They're trying to do that in the northern part of Indianapolis. They're trying to cut down the forest to build more. I mean, I get affordable housing is important too. I get that. But there's plenty of space where there are no trees to build affordable housing. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. And there's another bill I really want to pass, and actually it's called the Energy Innovation and Carbon Dividend Act. And what it is basically having fossil fuel industries pay for their pollutants that they put into the air, because right now they're not paying for the CO2 that they're putting in the air. And the CO2, what is the CO2? CO2 is it's an insulator. Yes, it's what plants breathe in, but what happens is we got fewer plants than the amount of carbon that we're putting into the air. And so then that excess carbon or CO2 is going up into the atmosphere, and it's just like layering on blankets. And so what this will do is actually put a fee on it'll put $10 on every ton of CO2 that the fossil fuel industry will put into the air. But get this is wonderful and sad at the same time. It will give every single household $300 per month.
Wow. I'll take it.
But think about that's a lot of CO2 that they're pumping up into that air. So we're expecting Mother Earth to take care of itself, but we're just bothering it as much as we can.
Yeah,
so
but
it can't.
That's just the environment is another example of putting, profits over what's best for the human. I want to talking about what's best for the human. The Indianapolis Star published an amazing article this morning, or it might have been yesterday, about long COVID and how this particular individual, she was a big time NCAA, lawyer, and now she struggles with long COVID and some cognitive things, but she's pretty upbeat. We're not obviously out of this pandemic yet, right? But the long-term health care of our citizens are really going to take a toll. Like, I had COVID. Luckily, I don't know if I have long COVID or not. I might be having cognitive issues. I don't know. I'm sure y'all tell me. But when we think about our healthcare system and we think about the impact this pandemic has had on us, how do we're still trying to negotiate prescription drugs. Paul, you will have an opportunity when you're in in Congress to really have those conversations. Talk about how you see us moving forward with our healthcare system.
Well, the Inflation Reduction Act actually focuses on one portion of that, and that's having negotiations with pharmaceutical companies. And I don't understand why we ever allowed them to not have negotiations.
It was the compromise.
I know. Well, the compromise was you either take my drugs for this price or you don't get them. So, and actually, thank God now that they're having negotiations and maybe even putting caps on insulin, because right now there is no cap on insulin, which is crazy. And I just really love to basically respect science, because there's lots of Congress people out there that they don't understand research and trying to focus on data and understanding how that data can help us understand what's happening to our Earth. Dr. Fauci had a hard time because this COVID that we dealt with is something our body had never experienced before. And so the white blood cells were just going, I don't know what's happening here. What's happening? And so this vaccination that we are given was actually a wake up pill, basically, for those white blood cell counts.
Yeah. I know that in the state house, Jocelyn, they are making strides. You know, I know on both sides of both chambers, our Democrats are doing a lot of work trying to, you know, alleviate costs, healthcare costs. And plus, you know, we have many counties in our state that don't even have, you know, certain healthcare facilities. Even though you're representing Fishers, and I get that, but when you cast a vote, it's for all 92 counties. Talk about how you envision Indiana moving forward in healthcare.
Well, first of all, I'll say my profession, I mentioned I'm a small business owner. I own a small ad agency, and we work with communities across the state for tourism and economic development. So I feel like I'm very aware. I travel the state all the time. I'm very familiar with rural, suburban, and urban communities across the state. As I like to say, South Bend's my hometown, but Fishers is my city, but Indiana is my state, and I love Indiana. So your thoughtfulness about what the state house, each vote in the state house is a single vote representing the voices of that particular district, but it has an effect of all 92 counties. So for me, it's simple, like public health is the agreed upon prioritization of what's best for the common good, making sure that the common good is healthy. And that means agreed upon. That means the entire public is on the same page, working from the same facts and working together with compassion and thoughtfulness about their neighbors. And we have lost that along the way in Indiana. And I'm sorry, I must point to our supermajority in the state house that I think has exacerbated that, that trouble that we have, that lack of compassion. So that is something. And then simply our state house decisions that they're making and legislation that they're passing for Hoosiers has to be thoughtful about the ripple effects and how it affects healthcare costs. You cannot ban abortions in our state without thinking about the ramifications of not only health of individuals, health of households, health of communities, but also the cost factor that will certainly be incurred by our hospital and healthcare system that trickles back down to every Hoosier. Yeah. So it's unconscionable.
Yeah, and it's scary because like no one looks. Paul, I'll be honest. You've been like really trying to keep it mellow and keep it cool because I get that. You know where you're running is what you got to do, and I applaud your ability to like to have that even tone. But if you're you're looking at it from a congressional point of view, and I get that. But I know me and Jocelyn been looking at that state house, and it's like what? And it gets my blood boiling, and I don't understand why other people's blood isn't as I get everybody's not as in the politics like I am. I get that, but every policy that these people write impacts you directly. And so I thank you, Paul, for being like super cool. I think I want to hit one more thing because I know you got to get going, and you have fundraisers and things to go to. And I'm gonna put the pressure on you, Paul, when you win. My congressman comes back to Indianapolis. I can see him anytime. I'm just letting you know. I'm just gonna put the pressure on. We have law enforcement. Law enforcement is a tricky thing, right? It's not. Everybody thinks it's so black and white, but it's not. And we often tell ourselves, no one is above the law. No one is above the law. And I know I normally stay in the 92 county borders, but I think this thing with the Orange Menace is going to have a significant ripple effect through our society, no matter what the DOJ decides to do. I think, homeboy just ought to go ahead on and get arrested and arraigned or whatever the hell, because he committed a crime. If I commit the crime, I'm going to jail. You commit the crime, you going to jail, Paul. Jocelyn, the same way. But what I'm struggling with is the fact that they're saying we don't want to do a former president. I question: is it a former a former president or this former president? Because folks are scared to death. He had top secret documents. Y'all don't have to comment on the case, but talk about how you feel as a citizen of the United States on if they don't do something or if they do something, and what message that sends, and how will you as an elected official try to resolve that with the people that you represent. Yeah, I know I did that. Paul, I'm gonna go with you first, bro.
It's heavy, but I mean, if it's illegal, it's illegal, and we need to actually set precedents with law. I mean, as in, if you give up, if you're lenient, that's going to say something. But he does have his Supreme Court in. He has a posse of lawyers, and we have to make sure that everything that is illegal is noticed.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it is scary because Lindsey Graham said if he is indicted, there will be civil war.
Yeah.
And it's just, but because of that statement right there, that's treasonous.
Yeah.
And it should be also thought of about in regards to an illegal way of speaking. He should be removed or impeached at least.
I agree.
And I love Ms. Cheney. I thought she was wonderful, and I'm sad.
I ain't gonna say that.
I'm
gonna say
I love,
she meets
I
the
love
bare
that she
minimum.
stood up. No, but I disagreed with almost 98% of what she said, but she had testes. As in,
she had ovaries, honey. She had big, juicy ovaries. Because, honey, testes done dried up and shriveled up and curled up. Because it's all them men, folk. All them men. They all look. Tucker Carlson sitting around talking about, oh, you know, we losing our manhood. And the boy that lost his primary race out in South Carolina. Oh, you know, men need to do this. Stop being punks, and then maybe women will start respecting you a little more. But you all running around letting some 75-year-old man who couldn't chase you down a ramp scare you into not doing what's right by the Constitution. I'm not trying to hear that. She got big ovaries, but that was a bare minimum, bro. Bare minimum.
Oh yeah,
upholding the Constitution.
I agree.
I'm sorry, another rant. Her daddy shot somebody in the face. Jocelyn,
yeah.
Jocelyn, I ain't messing with her just for that, because that's a crazy family. Talk to me about the impact of this situation on our society.
I have 2 kids. They're grown. My son is 27. My daughter is 25. They don't live in my house anymore. But this whole situation reminds me of something I taught to them when they were little, and that is simply actions have consequences. Actions have consequences. And if we lose that equation, we've lost it all. Right? So actions have consequences. That's what I'm expecting here.
All right. Okay. Now I'm gonna end on a positive note because that was kind of dark and I had to go there.
Good.
Okay. Jocelyn, what is you said abortion is number 1, education is number 2. What
sensible gun legislation?
Sensible gun legislation.
Repealing permitless carry.
I love it. I love those things. Now, unfortunately, it's 7:00.
Yeah.
That hour went quick. And okay, so Jocelyn, tell the people do you have any events coming up?
Yes, 2 real quick. Saturday, September 17th, I have a joint fundraiser event with House candidate for District 32, Victoria Garcia Wilburn.
Yes.
So part of her district is in Hamilton. Her district is in Hamilton County and Marion County. My district is in Hamilton County and Marion County both. So I am so proud to be just working with her and supporting her campaign as she supports mine. And we are sisters knocking on doors and working really hard. And I'm encouraging her victory in the statehouse, the House of Representatives side. And then we have a fundraiser for just me, my campaign on Thursday, September 22nd. In Indianapolis. If you go to my website, you'll see all about it. It is going to be a blast. So come join us. These events are great. And I am around and out in the community, not only canvassing, but meeting with voters all the time. So I just encourage that.
What are your handles? What are your social?
Yeah, Jocelyn Vare for Indiana. My last name is Vare. V as in Victor. Excuse me. V as in victory.
Hello.
Jocelyn Vare.
I love it. Thank you so much for coming back. Paul, do you have any events coming up? Besides the one you're late to? Sorry.
I'm busy every single day. And so it's a sprint to the finish right now. So I'm willing to do something every.
It'd be nice to get internet up there. Jocelyn, your job.
So busy. He's so busy. That's
your job when you get up in that state house is to get us some reliable high-speed internet in all of our counties, so that this right here, this man is bringing us the funk tonight, and because of his connectivity, I think we may have just lost him, y'all. Paul for All. I know that he is on all the social media handles. So just find him, like him, donate to both of these campaigns. Listen, these are bright people. We have smart people. I actually had more educators on this season than I've had before, and they are sharing and they are putting themselves on the ballot. And they want to make sure that they are a part of the change. So I'm excited that smart, intelligent, educated people want to be our leaders, because usually smart people be like, I ain't doing that. Smart people like, nah, there's too much drama that comes with that. So y'all, thank you so much for joining Turn Left. Next week, I'm going to actually have 3 guests on. I know we'll make it work. Technology will make it work. I'll make all the faces look cute and do what I do. But we had a situation where candidate thought she was going to have to step away. I had to fill the slot. But once I made the ask, I wasn't going to tell her, no, she can't come. So we're going to have 3 people on the show, and it's going to be a ladies' hour. I like ladies' hours. I have a good time when there's ovaries in the book. Damn them testes. I'm just saying, I just ain't feeling them. I ain't feeling them. They punks. Every last one of them. They Jocelyn, they call themselves the Boogaloo Boys. All right, y'all. Indiana's own Dana Black, Turn Left. Thank you so much for tuning in. I will holler at y'all next week. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.